G'day and welcome to Health and Fitness for Everyone. I am Leah Hart and let me share my story with you. Let's uncover all the tips and tricks that PTs don't want you to know about. So let's get into it.
Hey everyone, it's Leah Hart here from Health and Fitness for Everyone. Alright, today guys, I'm going to do a little bit of a chat about L-Glutamine. Some of you may have heard of it, some of you are like, what is it? So let's just jump on in and go from there. So what is L-Glutamine? L-Glutamine is a non-essential amino acid. Okay, it's most often just called glutamine without the L in front. Okay, so our bodies will naturally produce glutamine, but sometimes we can have deficiencies, or sometimes there's even a need for an increase in glutamine. So our body requires around 20 essential and non-essential amino acids to make and create various proteins. Okay, we need to be able to get adequate protein, which is critical for our general health. Okay, so it's all part of the building blocks. Now, like I was saying, we normally produce enough for our body's needs, but there are times where we can have a shortfall. Alright, now some of the shortfalls, I guess, is what we're going to be looking at is whether we have some stress, trauma, could be from past infections or current infections, intense exercising. Okay, so a lot of people don't realize that high intensity exercising actually can put the body into stress. So, and then there's things like whether you have radiotherapy, chemo, whether you've had any immune disorders, those sort of things that really take a toll on the body naturally are often going to lower the way your body can produce this amino acids. And sometimes our diet is just inadequate as well. So if we haven't getting enough, sometimes we need to add it in. Now there's been a lot of talk, and you'll probably see a lot of things about irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut, L-glutamine being the new next best thing. Now, I guess to help clarify some of that in my research and my personal experiences, I don't have, well, I don't think I have leaky gut or irritable bowel syndrome. I do have food intolerances which can upset my tummy. My husband has bowel issues, and I have found since taking L-glutamine, it has actually settled things down. And for me, when I take it consistently over a good few months, I actually find it reduces my intolerances, or how much I can have before it starts to affect me. Now that's just my personal experience. It may not be the same for you. Now, when I was heavily training, and I was training 6-7 days a week, 4 or 5 heavy in the gym, building muscle and stamina, and then 3 to 4 sometimes in very long endurance karate sessions, I actually started upping my L-glutamine a little bit. And what I actually found was, obviously the stress exercise wasn't having an effect on my tummy. I was actually able to have really good nutrition. Everything seemed to be working well. And the muscle fatigue and sometimes the recovery from real hardcore sessions actually made it easier. Like it was a little bit, it was like the DOMS effect, as we all call, delayed onset muscle fatigue and stuff like that, your lactic acid buildup, all of that just wasn't as noticeable anymore. And I guess I didn't really notice it until I stopped taking it. So there was a period recently last year when I was having some health issues. I stopped taking a lot of my supplements and bits and pieces because I stopped training the way I was. So I thought, well, I don't need to take all these things because I'm not training the way I used to. But then I found out as I increased training, all these things were like, well, it wasn't happening like this before, but now it is. And some of that I can put back to certain supplements I was taking, and I never used to take a lot, but L-glutamine was probably my base. And because my husband had bowel issues and some bowel surgery, I actually found it very beneficial for him. So it's something we always just kept in the house. So I guess if you guys, any of you do suffer a bit of IBS or have food intolerances, what they call leaky gut, because your gut is just not working the way it should, I would recommend giving glutamine a red hot crack, and not just for a couple of weeks, but do a good 3-month trial. And you'll probably find things will settle in your belly. The bloating goes away, some of the cramps and discomforts that you may have. Now, I'm not going to say that this works for everybody. I'm not a medical physician and I can't tell you to go and do it. I'm just explaining it from my place of where I have found benefits and that it may be a benefit of you. L-glutamine is a relatively safe amino acid to take. And you'll find if you walk into a gym, there's going to be majority of people are taking it or have taken it. It is quite common. Now, obviously, I never had any side effects. I never had any issues, but I would like to point some of these out. And hey, feel free to jump online and Google yourself. There's plenty of information there about it. So some of the side effects that you may come against with an increase in L-glutamine, you can get an allergic reaction, like anything. It's not a foreign substance, but it's an added substance that our body has. Excuse me. So there's always going to be that possibility of a reaction regardless. Even though our body creates it, this is not in the format that our body creates. So if at any time you have nauseous, vomiting, excessive joint pain or breakout in hives, like all medications or supplements, stop straight away, seek medical attention. Okay? Like I said, I'm not a medical profession, so I'm only pointing out some of the negatives just to ensure that you are aware while you're listening to this, okay? So if you want to increase your glutamine naturally without taking a supplement, there's lots of foods with glutamine in them, but some of the foods that have a really good and easily accessible glutamine source is chicken, fish, cabbage, spinach, majority of your dairy, tofu, lentils, beans, beets, peas. They're the main group, so you can see that they group themselves into a few veggies, but most of it is a bit of our meats, and our beans and lentils are quite high. Oh, sorry, I've got the tickles in the throat today. So make sure that your recommended dosage guidelines are followed. It's always crucial not to take too much when you're supporting or you're adding it in. Now, most of the packaging that you buy will have recommendations, and I believe it's around the 5 grams a day or 5 grams twice a day, depending on what you're using it for. Start at the lowest dose and just give it a go. So for me, L-glutamine is like my little magic thing that I have every morning in my smoothie or my breakfast. It is a white powder, has no taste, doesn't discolor anything. You can add it to cereals, juices, smoothies. You can just stick it in a glass of water and drink it. It really has no taste. Like it's one of those things that you can put in with anything and it won't alter it. Okay, hubby has it with his psyllium husk and juice in the morning, his orange juice, and he doesn't even know it's in there. And he's fussy. He hates having bits and pieces in his juices in the morning. So for him to sort of say, well, I don't even notice it's in there, to me, ticks a good box. What I was going to suggest as well is when you're taking supplements and you want to see if you have an adverse effect or if they're working or not working, I highly recommend don't take lots of them all at once. Don't start a whole big regime. Unless for some reason it's under a medical advice, go for it. If you've seen a specialist and they like to try this and this all at once, go for it. But if it's something you're doing at home, so you're in control, start one thing off at a time, just so you can eliminate that if you do have a flare-up or an issue, basically you can say, oh, well, I know what it is, and you can stop that straight away, okay? So I guess what I mainly wanted to talk about was L-glutamine can be really good for gut health. And we all know gut health is very important. It allows us to make sure we're absorbing our nutritious food the way we should be. When our gut health is out of balance, we won't. So basically we can be pooping money out the drain because all the good stuff we're putting in is not being absorbed and not being used or is able to be used for the means that we're eating. You know, we're all fueling our bodies to be the best bodies they can be. So we want to make sure that what's going in is actually being used. Like I said, I've found some great results in myself with my food intolerances. I can get away with having a bit of gluten and a little bit of dairy here and there, so it's not life-threatening if I go out and, you know, I can't find something. I know that I can make good food choices and I'm not going to get crook straight away. So that's about it for today. I hope that was informative and you guys know a little bit more about the amino acid L-glutamine. If you've got any questions or anything like that, pop them in the comments, let me know, and I can shoot it back and reply as quick as possible. Otherwise, have an awesome day. Thanks for tuning in, and till next time.
Thanks for tuning in, guys and girls. If you want to check out some of my other social media accounts, go to HF4 as in the number 4 everyone on Facebook, or just Health and Fitness 4 with the number 4 everyone on Instagram. You'll find a bit more details and a few more tips and tricks on my other social media sites. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed. Don't be afraid to drop some comments, some questions, and some ratings, guys. What do you think? How am I going? You know, I can't improve, I can't serve you guys if I don't know how I'm traveling, so don't be afraid to drop some comments, some hints, and some ratings for me. Alright, love to you all, and talk soon.